I understand that that you've had episodes of a panicky feeling, a high level of anxiety. Could you describe a typical episode?
The first time it happened to me, I was driving down the highway, and I had a kind of a knot in my chest. It felt like I had swallowed something and it got stuck. And it lasted pretty much overnight, and it was really starting to upset me. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I was having a heart attack.
Okay. Let's get a little bit more details about exactly what sensations occur in one of those attacks. Did you feel short of breath, for example?
Not too short of breath, but somewhat, yeah. Not. I wasn't breathing as though I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was more of a feeling like I thought I was just going to pass out. That's how I felt.
Yeah. Did you feel like you needed to get some air?
I did. I stopped. I pulled off the side of the road. I got out of the truck. I walked around. My girlfriend was with me, and she had no idea what was going on. I mean, I just stopped on the side of the highway and just walked out, got out of the truck and walked around.
Did you break out in a sweat?
I was feeling kind of nauseous and sweaty. No idea what was going on.
What did it feel like in terms of psychological symptoms? Did you feel afraid?
Oh, I was definitely afraid. I think that's the worst part of it, is not knowing what is happening to you and assuming the worst. I mean, you think all kinds of thoughts about what's, oh, I've got something definitely wrong here, and I assumed it was a heart attack. So we went to a emergency room, and I got checked out for a heart attack, and they assumed that I was, but everything came back negative.
Some people feel in a vague way like they're about to die.
Oh, I had a long period of time after that I felt as though, especially after seeing a few doctors, my primary care physician had me checked out. I did all types of testing, everything was negative. I had upper GI, I had x-rays, I had a number of things done with no results. I even had some of these panic attacks while I was on the treadmill on the stress test for my heart. And I felt as though, and that was still early in the stages of when I first started having them, and I thought, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die on this treadmill. I've got a doctor here anyway.
Let's talk a little bit about the pattern of these attacks. When they first started and when they were at their most intense time, how many did you have during a day or a week?
There were days where I would have a number of them in a single day, and they would come on me sporadically. I had no idea when it would occur. I could be driving down the road. I was on the highway a number of times, and these attacks would hit. And it's so scary because I always felt as though I was going to pass out. That was my worst fear, and run off the road, kill somebody, kill myself. But it was funny, after talking to my mother about it, she said, well, you haven't passed out. And that stuck in my mind. Well, she's right there, so I don't need to fear it as much as I had been. And so I learned to kind of get through it. And even though it was a very frightening experience every time.
Did you ever have one at night that woke you up out of sleep?
I did have some episodes where I would wake up with that feeling in my chest, although it wasn't the flushed kind of a feeling, and which would typically make me feel as though I was going to pass out. That's
right.
that rushed feeling coming up through my body. But I did have instances where it would wake me up.
Just wake you up out of a dead sleep?
Out of a sleep, I would wake up with the chest.
Is there anything that you could do or not do that would make these attacks more or less frequent?
It was kind of strange. When I first started having these, I was working in a fairly physically strenuous job. And as long as I was keeping busy and working out hard, I didn't notice them that much. But the minute I'd stop and we'd take a break or whatever, I'd start having those feelings again. And But as long as I was physically active, I didn't really notice them.
Well, once you'd had these for a while, did you begin to worry about them, worry about when you were going to have the next one?
Oh yeah, that was definite concern. I tend to stay away from crowded places. I tend to not go out. I've never had a fear of heights or a fear of closed-in places or any type of phobias like that. But it's funny that now I do have a problem with heights.
I want to switch gears just a little bit. Oftentimes when people have these kinds of attacks, they also have feelings of depression. And did you notice feeling depressed when you were during this period of panic attacks?
I didn't see it as a correlation between the two. I didn't realize or put it together myself that there was any relation between the two. I knew that I'd had depressive feelings before, and that I periodically would have them, but once I started, I think I was feeling depressed at the time that I had the first one.
How old were you when you had the first panic attack that you remember?
39.
39.
39.
And how many years ago is that?
That's been about 3 years ago.
About 3 years. That period of time when you were having several per day, how many weeks in a row or how many months in a row did that period of time last?
I'd say a good 6 months.
Is there any other way in which having panic attacks, and I understand they're better now, has had an effect on your life or your friends or family or your job?
Well, having these feelings is, it's number one, you can't seem to shake them. Even though you have an attack and then it subsides, it's still there. It never seems to go away. So it's constantly on your mind. It's just always there. You cannot forget it.